Well, what stuck out for me, Brandon,
And all
was
the headstones and all that you would think of it.
was not
The
the
headstones, yeah.
Yes, they were.
what stuck out for me was not the CD, the DVD, but
Oh, it was a DVD that was talking
yeah,
about. Okay.
but actually
Part of it was.
the second part, what they're talking about, the second part. But what stuck out to me was the actual lesson on it, because there's a part of it says, "So Israel, so now Israel, what is the Lord require of you? What does the Lord your Elohim ask from you? Is to fear Yahweh, your God, follow His ways, love Him and serve Yahweh your God with all your heart and all your might, to obey for your own good the mitzvah and regulation of Yahweh which I am giving you today." This has been bothering me a lot, that people have no respect, no fear of Yahweh, and no idea. And I'm not talking about people that study the word, but a lot of the people have no idea who He is, and that He is a holy God, and we're to fear Him, to hold Him in awe, to hold Him in reverence. Some people call Him buddy, in Espanol, camarada. He's not your buddy. He's a holy, almighty, all-powerful God, and He is to be feared. To be an unbeliever, to be feared because of what danger. There's two words that describe that. It's pahad, meaning physical danger, and jiran, which means reverence. The unbeliever are to fear what He can do to them if you do not repent. But to the unbeliever, to the believer, we are to reverence Him, to hold Him in up high as a holy, almighty God, not my buddy upstairs. There is no, that stuck with me. That really stuck with me. That there's not a lot of fear and reverence of Yahweh anymore. It's just like when you tell your kids when they're little and you tell them, mijo, mija, go do this. Or why did you do that? You're not supposed to do. So, whatever. This is the word that comes to me, whatever. Whatever. Yahweh says, the word of God says we're not supposed to, whatever.
Yeah.
Like the relativity thing.
Yeah.
So that stuck to me, and that really stuck to me because it is so true that this is what He requires from us, to fear Yahweh.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the challenges I'm hearing you say that is, how do you transfer your conviction and your fear to someone else, especially to your children? Because you see it a lot, even in the scriptures. You see how you have a holy man and just bad kids. You know, like, what in the world? Eli is one of my, is it Eli? With the sons of Phinehas?
They were going to be the high priest. They were next in line. Yeah.
And the last thing you want is to have this great life, and then you see, like, what happened? You dropped it. Like, we had it going. Mom, Dad did some great things. We panned out some great ways for you, and what happened? So that sobers me so much, Miss Eva, is how do you, like, I can talk about it. I can be like, we need to be fearing God. Fear God. But I think it's some things in my life, day to day, that I need to start making sure I'm doing. And we talked about this before. When I'm praying with my kids, for them to see Daddy go on the ground, like on my knees, on my face. They're like, ooh, Daddy. Because Daddy's the dad. You know, I'm the Papa Pig. You know, we joke. Yeah. It's a show. I don't know if, okay. The Peppa Pig. I'm the Papa Pig. They joke. But for Dad to do that, so those are some things as a father, I'm thinking, what can I do to make sure they transfer that? Man, for me, God is serious. I don't play with it. So when we pray, there's a certain way I have to make, what we praying? Stop crying. I know you, no crying, no playing. We're praying. But yeah, I think that's a really valid point, because I don't want to sit here and talk about all this stuff and we like, man, this is great, but we can't transfer it. So anyhow, that's a great, I want to continue to remember that. I want to start with this question. Is it important how one worships? Is it important how one worships? I asked this question because we're about to get in some text that I highlighted. Look, I'm going to say this in the beginning. I think this is the biggest Torah portion reading for this book. So it's a lot to cover from what I remember. I'm sorry if I don't get to your subject because I may miss a point. You're like, hey, I wanted to talk about that. If you do, please bring it up. But I can't get to everything. But I did bring out some things because I'm always, I don't know about you, but I'm always after the heart of Yahweh. I'm always listening for who are you and what you care about the most. Because the way I grew up, some things were made sense for who he is, but some things were not. And I have to continue to jettison and put all those things away and say, okay, that's not him. That's what I thought he was. Here's who he really is. One of the questions that helps me with that is asking, is it important how one worships? You know, I grew up with this idea of being relative. He gets my heart. If I can start with that attitude, everything is permissible. Because I feel like I have a good heart. I've got a good heart. You think about that statement. I feel like I have a good heart. I am the standard that I'm judging myself, and I'm pretty good. That's a dangerous way to assess yourself. But we do that. And I think we have to be careful as we evaluate, what does Yahweh really care about? He does care about our heart in a way that we don't truly understand sometimes. In our Torah portion for today, 3 passages that stood out to me that talks about this idea. You shall not worship Yahweh your God in that way. Oh, so there is a way that's wrong? You know, as a young man growing up, I'm going to be honest with you, there's a part of me that has a problem with that. Because there's a part of me that says, I want to do it my way. What's the big deal? Okay, you might not say it out loud, but inside of me, there's a part that's saying, what's the big deal? I always think about Moses with the sandals. I can't get away from this picture. And he says, take off your sandals because this is holy ground. I'm thinking, you know, he said, don't take another step. Like, well, it's a step. What's the big deal? One step to another. This part of Yahweh I still don't completely get. Yahweh's like, no, I make a distinction. I said no more steps. See, my kids, oh man, I can't wait to y'all see Ava. She's walking around now. My goodness, boy, she talk about passive rebellion. This girl is amazing. Just every day, bring me the iPad. She'll look at me and just keep walking away really slowly. Like, so she's testing, where is the line? How far can I go? And she's starting to get it now because Daddy come get her, and I follow through. I'm saying, you didn't do what you're supposed to. So she starts running for us. Like, no, he's coming. Like, no, you got to come and do that. But we test that line. One step. You should not do according to all we're doing today. See, all this stuff you're doing, according to what's right in your own eyes, this is what our nation is. And look, everybody has good intentions. And I think that's where we think it's cool. Like, everybody has good intentions, right? But that does not make it okay to Yahweh. Oh, well, you know, no, you want to do what you want to do and what feels right for you. Everyone doing right in his own eyes. Don't do that. I don't want you kind of doing what's right in your own eyes. I want you to do it my way. Yes, there is a right way that I want you to worship. Now, I'm not saying that there's only one way, but he does have a way and a principle that he's prescribing for us. You shall not worship Yahweh your God in that way, for every abominable thing that Yahweh hates they have done for their gods. For they even burn their sons and their daughters in the fires to their gods. I don't want you doing it that way. But I'm worshiping you. You see the sacrifice. Now, none of us will go to that degree. But there are some things equivalent to that we may entertain. We say, like, but I am worshiping you. I found a new way. This is more modern. This is how it is now. Sometimes in today, you'll hear this language and say, well, that's old school. Or this 21st century now. As if by saying this 21st century, things are now outdated and no longer applicable. We got to be really careful. There's a scripture that talks about go back to the old, go back to the old past. The young person in me who's rebellious, the millennial type mindset of no, everything's new. I ain't doing it like my parents, my grandparents. That's old stuff. Wait till I'm married, dress like that, all in the Bible. I mean, I'm not being real, but this is the mentality that we can have that's old. No, there's some principles that would never wear out.
They've got a baptismal church where you get on the slide and it goes round and round. To the
No, don't say that, bro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
I quit. Yes.
I never heard. Oh,
They come in baptized every
That's
week.
new to me.
oh,
Yeah.
have mercy.
And I was listening to something on some news, whatever it was, that they wanted to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem again. And then they were going like, man, sacrifices will be back. And oh, man, can you imagine the lineup of
Wow. Wow. This is yeah. I had your hand on music.
About what you're saying about the old school in the 21st century, I think I told Mariah one day, I was like, why do y'all still like do things like that are so old when it's 21st century? And I didn't understand it, and then you're over here telling me right now that it's because he wants it his way, certain way, not your way, the new way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and that's Yahweh. Gravity ain't nowhere out, man.
If we
Oh,
don't
that's
want
new.
him to change his blessings for us, you know, we don't want him to change the fact that he died on the cross and we are forgiven and we have a chance of eternal life. But why do we want him to change the way we're supposed to serve him or the way we're supposed to even dress? And it's difficult with a girl. You know, it gets difficult because she's not that modern dressing, but you know, I'm assuming with girls and even with boys, you know, more needs to be cast into church in shorts. And for me personally, I'd be like, no, you wear shorts every day. You gotta make sure that if you're going to a party or to a quinceañera or whatever he wanted to go to, do you wear shorts? No. Then why would you do it, you know, for this, you know?
Yes.
So I just keep trying to remind myself. Sometimes I'll change the channel instead of listening to that old.
Old time religion.
Yeah, it's that 92.7 at night when we're working. It's like old time. I'm talking like. And he likes it, and I'll turn it off and click quarter channel because he's just no. And then I actually went and put some on my thing, and I'm like, I gotta remember, it's all about praise. It's not about.
Yeah. And here's, it's not to say that old is good and better,
No.
but there are some principles that are old that we need to cling to and make sure we find out what those are. Okay, so,
And you did
yeah,
that.
go ahead, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
I'm gonna let it go.
No,
Well,
no.
the reason I'm not is because they say it's old school, but the word of God is old school. The word of God is, the word of God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. My children, my grandchildren, I've heard it all my life. You're old fashioned, that's the old way. I said, the only thing I know is what's in this book. And this book does not change. You change, the people change, your attitude change, your ways change, his ways don't change.
Right.
The word never changes.
Never changes.
So the way to serve him, the way to live for him is forever.
Yes.
The same way. Like
Yes.
it's always been. I don't care if we don't like it. If we serve him and we love him, then we obey him.
Right. And yes, sir.
Well, I'm glad you said it that way because you have to be careful in this day and age which translation you get because they are changing
Yes, they are.
and they are watering down God's word. They're making it where it's politically correct, if you will. The NIV version has dumbed down a lot of the Bible. They're making a lot of sin no longer sin.
Yeah, there's 900 verses left out of the NIV version on the deity of Yeshua. 900 verses.
Just And just for an example, I'm giving a message tomorrow. Y'all pray for me. At Jesus Church, and it's all about the fear of Yahweh. That's what it moved me last week. But there is a scripture there where it says that you obey, where it says you obey for your own good. Well, the translation in the Spanish one says so you can prosper, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't mean the same thing. It does not mean the same thing. And most Spanish versions say for your prosperity, and it says no, so that you obey this for your own good.
Yes, yes.
For your own good. So,
I'm so glad
tiny
you.
little translations make a big difference.
Oh, you're showing it. Oh,
I know.
all right. So you guys got a lot to say on this. This is big, though. This is huge. How do you make sure that this gets transferred, this spirit and attitude? You said something about dressing, how it's difficult. It is challenging for a lady today. I got 4 daughters, y'all. So I'm serious, as they're getting older, I'm like, I'm walking with them like mother hen, like, no, whoa. What you watching? One of my, Zoya brought in these little shoes she got from a toy giveaway, whatever. They get these little heels, those little heels for the girls and stuff. I can't stand them. I can, I mean, it's like for like a doll or something, but she likes, I can't. But it's hard to explain for a 3-year-old the context of why that's not appropriate. But you have to. And I think even what you were saying about shorts, it's like, hey, what a big deal. And in one way, it's like it's not a big deal. But then, where do we draw the lines and maintain a distinction and holiness?
And I want to say this, is that, we've had, in this gentleman wore shorts, and we had another gentleman that wore shorts. But in my home, it wasn't the shorts, per se. It was the fact that he wanted to dress down.
Yeah.
He wanted to go casual.
Yeah.
And Sarah wears pants. And mind you, it's because we ran out of clothes that fit her that were dresses that weren't short wise. So we couldn't, pants were the better choice. But we tried to teach them, we have to. But shopping nowadays, the things that you gotta watch that you don't even know what they mean on the shirts for boys as well as girls, they don't even sell anything that's not short or tight. And
with holes in it.
it's not even
Holes in it, that's the one that
it's not even available, but casual is that whole casual, taking a casual look at
Right.
at your relationship with God. And if you're gonna go see your grandmother, you haven't, you dress. I know I wasn't allowed to go in my dirty clothes because I was in the yard playing. You have to dress for Sunday. That Sunday, now we got dirty there, but we looked cute when we got there.
Right. First Corinthians, yes.
Like worship, you mean like, okay, I'm talking about serious garment changing into the clothing.
Mm-hmm.
But worship is like how you reverence, how you sing, or how you worship the Lord. Is this what we're talking about?
Well, I don't want to get into a deep discussion on worship, but there's a difference between praise and worship.
Yeah.
Praise is more of the I'm lifting you up. Worship is more I'm lowering myself down.
I'm worshiping.
Yeah, so you can like the word in Hebrew literally means to go down. So you're humbling, bringing yourself down.
Like the other day, when I had my accident, this side of my body is like going through some changes. Like this arm, I'll hold it up like that. It can't be too long because it tends to get tired. But it's just this side and down to this leg. And I was already the kind of person that I'm kind of moving all the time. But now it's worse. And so like when I'm praising, I'm sitting down now, not as much standing up and all that I used to do. I'm kind of sitting, but I'm going like this because it's hurting, And then I'm thinking, oh, they're gonna think I'm, and I was feeling self-conscious about it but I'm like, this isn't why. It's because I am hurt. Like right now, I'm hurting.
Okay.
I may have to get up.
Right.
And it kind of.
So everybody knows she's not. She's
I'm
just.
not doing that.
Yeah. We'll be praying for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But worship, I don't want to go into that.
Right.
But worship, I want us to think more broader. You know, it's not. I mean, here, let's
Not
worship.
that.
Worship it. You know, Romans, I think it says, "This is your spiritual act of worship to be a living sacrifice." This is my life. I live in this humble, I'm a servant type of attitude. But there's a way about in which I need to go about doing that. 1 Corinthians 9, I shared last time. Do you not know that in the race all runners run, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. It's not just running and competing. We talked about that. Everybody runs. Everybody competes. Everybody went through the cloud. Everybody drank from the same spiritual rock. But run. Make sure you're running in such a way. So watch how you're doing things. Please. These are small little. We talked about foxes. These small little issues can water down the distinction and the holiness of Yahweh in our families and in the people we're talking to. Speaking of this idea of in such a way, have anybody heard of this word?
I can't pronounce
Asceticism. Asceticism.
That we
Okay,
put
cool.
everything away?
Huh?
That we put everything away and just one thing?
That's really close.
Close. Okay.
Yeah. You putting it, yeah.
Don't feel,
Don't what?
don't feel,
Don't feel? Yeah, we're getting that.
This,
This
new to it.
this is actually a Bible word. I don't know if you know that. This word is in the Bible. And this was a big issue. Let's talk about what it is. It's characterized by or suggesting the practice of severe discipline and abstinence from all forms of indulgence, typically for religious reasons. So asceticism is where you will remove yourself away from something. Like most of the time it's eating, most of the time it's any kind of pleasure, and you'll go very severe into it. Like I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to become like stoic.
Is that fasting?
It won't be fasting. See, the key word here is severe. So your idea is to go, I don't want to have anything to do with anything of pleasure because I believe that's going to promote me spiritually. So I'm just going to, anything, I'm going to get away from that all. To the point of it's really extreme. So that's the key on this one.
Wouldn't that be altruism? What you said to abstain from like religious or religious?
It may be a closer word.
Well, asceticism is like don't go to heavy metal rock concerts or just get out of there. If you're already in there, just get out of there. Or
It could be depending on how you practice your depending how you practice your asceticism. Like if you want to I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to touch no sugar. I don't want to eat no food. I'm gonna go. Okay, here's an example. Because we're not there yet. I think here's an example. I'm about to get into it. All right, so.
Can I give you the definition from?
Yeah.
Relating to or having a strict and simple way of living that avoids physical pleasure. Practicing strict self-denial as a measure of personal and especially spiritual discipline. An ascetic monk, an ascetic diet. Austere in appearance, manner, or attitude.
Thank you. And it's going to come together here in a second because I'm going to give you a lot of examples. So watch. In Kings, 1 Kings, you remember at noon Elijah mocked these people about their gods. Cry aloud, for he is God. Either he's musing or he's relieving himself, or he's on a journey, or perhaps he's asleep and must be awakened. And they cried aloud and cut themselves after their what? Custom with swords and lances until the blood gushed out upon them. In this mindset, people will actually abuse themselves. They will cut themselves and say, this is my religious practice. I'm trying to get away from anything that's pleasure. So they will cut themselves. So sometimes it's an abstinence from it, or sometimes you're actually inflicting some additional pain to you.
That sounds similar to that happens here in Spain, where they do, or Italy, where they do that walk, they carry the crosses, and then they whip each other.
I had a lot of that come up in my searches, and I couldn't put it up here because it was too graphic.
Wow.
I couldn't. I was like, let me find a picture that was. It was so bloody, brother. I'm like, this thing's still going on. Like people would take flagellums. Flagellum, y'all know what I'm talking about? Those whips with there's a whip, there's a bar, and there's strings coming off of it. On that string, at the end of that string, there's these little hooks and stuff, and they'll hit themselves. They'll hit them because they're punished. They believe they need to punish themselves, and this is how to be.
Yeah.
Okay, why am I putting this up here? Do not worship your God in that way. Now, none of y'all, I'm looking at y'all, don't seem like y'all do that. But there are some.
Not on purpose.
Not no more.
Not on purpose.
Yahweh warns against such practices. You shall not round off your hero temples or mar the edges of your beard. You shall not make any cuts on your body for the dead or tattoo yourself. I am Yahweh. What was happening in their culture is that in their practice, in their culture, in their religion, it was common for them to cut themselves. This is how you do your religion, and to mar the edge of your beard. This wasn't, as some believe, you just cut your beard. They would rip it out. Just to show them, don't do that. He said, don't do that. That's what they do. Don't do. That's not how we do it here. Yeah, the prophets did that. He didn't talk about that. But when you're using yourself, he said, no. Don't do it that way. Now look, I know this is not a practice you struggle with. Why? Because our nation doesn't deal with that.
There's people that don't do it as for worship, but they do it as the same thing as punishing themselves. Cutting. There's cutting.
They're not punishing themselves, they rather have, that's literally.
There's two different reasons for that.
They actually do it because the physical pain, it feels better that they're still alive because the emotional pain, and I know, I have a couple friends who do it, and I studied a little bit on it, why they do it, it's because their depression or their pain fit emotionally, so the pain that they're cutting themselves is literally to take away the pain inside, because they can actually feel this pain, they see it, they know why it's happening, the one inside they can't figure it out.
Right. Yeah. That's a whole different section, and here's why. They're not necessarily doing it to promote themselves religiously or piously, but they are, man, and I know very well, I'm a teacher. I have students, man. I would have thought this is just some random thing. I have students. Some of my top students, I found out, had all kinds of cuts on them. They hide it with bracelets or long sleeves all the time. They were top students. You know what was happening? In some situations, they had a parent at home who was so on to them about everything that they were pressured. They were doing well, but they couldn't handle the pressure. But so this is a little bit different in that these people would do it because they feel like in doing so, I'm actually being more spiritual. I'm gonna really inflict some pain on myself. So that's you don't want to do these types of things for that reason yourself.
Well, how about Episcopalians? I mean, do they inflict pints of alcohol? Don't they? I mean, is that how that works? Is Episcopalians? There's a drinking church that actually drinks.
We don't want to know about that church.
They said it's great. Come on, we have drinks after your church.
So here's if you were to look up ascetic, this is the model picture you'll see. This is someone who will oftentimes in public will be clearly abstaining from everything. They're just like, I'm so. Part of their MO is that I want you to see how religious I am. Okay? What's that?
They want to be called a holy.
Yes. So this, like, you'll see idols. When you type in ascetic and you search, you're going to see idols look just like this, but you're going to see all bones for their ribs. And it's like, I don't do anything, I'm religious. All right, so this idea, so I'm just going back to say, this is not how we do it. Now, Colossians actually talks about it. If Christ, you died with the element of spirits of this world, why, as if you were still alive in the world, do you submit to regulations? Do not handle. See, in quotations, they were living this idea, do not handle, do not taste, do not touch, referring to things that all perish as they are used, according to your human precepts and teachings. These have indeed an appearance of wisdom. That looks, I'm going to be honest, when you're coming up, you're like, man, that guy, wow. Yeah. They have an appearance of wisdom in promoting self-made religion. I'm not making this up. This is in your Bible. And what? Asceticism. I didn't put that. That word is in your scriptures. And severity to the body, but they are no value in stopping the indulgence of the flesh. Wow. Paul said they have zero value. You may think this kind of punishment is really training my body. Paul didn't literally beat his body, guys. He didn't mean it like this. This is not helping you. Self-discipline was not looking like this. He says, no, it has no value. I've gone through feeling like this. Have you ever felt bad because of some sin you did?
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're not careful, that emotion will take you to a place like this. See, we're thinking this don't apply to us. No. It'll take you to a place where you feel like, I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve just to get a free out here. because I grew up in a family where if I do something wrong, there's a punishment. And where is my punishment? You know it's harder not getting a punishment? You're like, where it? Guys, I've been through some things, and I've sinned in such a way that was so bad, and I'm like, where is God's wrath? I'd rather have His wrath than His grace. You ever been there? You're like, where is the wrath? Just give me that, please. And nothing. I get blessing. I'm like, people calling me, you want some money? I'm like, did you know what I did? That was horrible. So, when you don't get that, sometimes you're like, I'm going to do it to myself. Because I'm wrong. I need to do something against me. So here's where I'm going to go take it a little bit deeper. We might not have the flagellum that hits ourselves, but we will punish ourselves. We won't let ourselves off the hook. He said, that's not the way that I told you to worship. I told you to come seek me, cast your anxieties on me, pray and petition, and receive my mercy and grace. You're trying to get it. You're trying to do a Judas. You know how Judas did. Judas said, man, I can't take this no more. I don't deserve to be here. I did something so horrible. I'm done. You can say something? Okay.
You're going there, you're going.
Yes.
Seems like some people have taken those verses like 21, do not hurt, and they use that when we turn to Torah. You know, when we start doing Torah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
I've heard people say that. You know?
going back under the law.
Yeah, I'm going back in the law.
Oh, okay.
And all that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like, well, just not understand.
Right. And you could.
It's not
What I've learned here is I'm not so into Torah, not Torah, Christian, not Christian. I've learned that within any group, you can have the same type of behavior. You're going to have people who are devoted sincerely, and you're going to have people who are just doing it for a show. You're going to have everybody, no matter what church you go to. I've been in a lot of places. I've been in different places around the world. Like, you're going to have the same thing. People are people. You can put you in a monk suit if you want to. You can put a nice hat on. It don't matter. People are people, and they're going to have their different reasons for why they do what they're doing. First century believers struggle with it. 11th century believers struggle with it. This is the nicest picture I can put up. Because the real pictures, guys, are too graphic. The real pictures are people or men, and their whole back is full of blood. I'm not kidding. I'm talking about they have this in their hands, and they're hitting themselves. I'm talking about modern day. They're hitting. I was like, let me give me a kind of just, there was no in between, guys. It was so gory. So they really feel like this is what they need to do.
I went to
Oh, I didn't know that.
I went to Mexico really far south, and there was plaza, a lot of people, and I noticed that there were women walking on their knees with the hand of their man, and I had asked, I said, why are they doing that? And it had something to do with a promise that they had made. You know, it looked uncomfortable walking down the streets on their knees.
Right.
But, you're talking about the penance
Okay,
of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, they would walk to your knees.
Is that what they would do?
They would come to St. Peter's on their knees. That would be something they vow to do.
Oh, it's a vow for like, he said it's a vow for like, so let's say your child is dying and you pray and you say, Lord, if you heal my child, I will do this. And some believe
They go to like where they have the say. There's a place in a lot of places. There's in Mexico. There's a special place where they have the Virgen de Guadalupe.
yeah, it's a Catholic.
A virgin thing, and they actually go in there. He said, make it bloody and everything. They
Oh,
go
wow.
all the way
Poor women.
to. Well, they
It's not only women,
Whoever wants to.
women.
Yeah.
So they can do it too.
So so you see what I'm talking about, right? So we got it. There's a mentality in us that it can't be that easy.
I saw a documentary on this thing, and like one of them, you know how the one guy holds the cross, or they're
Yeah.
okay, that cross is heavy. I mean, it's heavy. So he prepares as he's a child, and there's one person in the family who gets to this past.
So he was selected.
Yes, or it's not selected to them; it's honor.
Yeah,
So they will actually prepare and do this, this thing, so that they cannot, because they cannot fail. They cannot fail doing that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Here's what I'm trying to get at. It's so much easier to inflict physical bodily pain than to actually embrace the mercy and grace and just say, you can sin for 360 days, but then you pick like 3 days. I'm just gonna really destroy myself. Like I'm gonna go on a binge spiritually. I'm just gonna I'm really spiritual. You can't do it. There is no easy way out. Paul says, I die every day. And I'm gonna tell you, in my marriage, I have to die every day.
Yeah.
I'm serious. In my marriage, it don't matter. In my classroom, every day. I better come in there. It don't matter if that person respects, loves me or not. Every day I'm going to kill myself and say, I'm just going to have to look bad today. That's harder than just saying, I'm just going to hit myself and then be over with it or whatever. So don't punish yourself. That's what I'm trying to get at. Don't punish yourself to try to be more spiritual. If you're thinking, I'm going to inflict fasting pain on myself because I'm going to be, like, you got the wrong mentality. It's not like I'm going to punish myself to get there. So not in that way. So you might have read this, but yeah, they use the flagellation as a penance. Penance means some kind of punishment. And in this instance, this person will read the Psalms 20 times in 1 week and would have 100 lash strokes to his back while he's reading it. We invent ways. There's a scripture. We invent ways of doing stuff. Like we're just going to come up with a new way. Is it important how one worships? So the first thing I addressed here is let's be careful not to worship him in that way. That's one way. Okay, there's probably other ways, but let's not do it that way. And let's embrace his mercy and grace. But there's some other things that we need to be considerate. In that way, what about Christmas? There's 3 major holidays. We can go talk about a lot of things. But what makes Christmas such a problem for those who are trying to please Yahweh?
It's not just that it's an actual holiday for another God. We just changed the name for it.
He says, don't worship me in that way. You took something that they were doing, and I don't have to read all this, but you hear that the sun god, it was a custom of the pagans to celebrate on the same 25th day, the birthday of the sun, at which, I don't got to read, y'all know this, I'm talking to an audience who's familiar with this. I got you. But don't do it, that's the offense. You can get into the Santa Claus, oh my goodness, I learned, I'm serious, I learned that the whole, the elves, I learned when back in the plays, when somebody wanted to do a play and they wanted to represent themselves as Satan, they would come on the stage and they would introduce themselves with the saying. What was it? Ho ho ho. That's how you knew it was Satan. It just goes on and on. I'm gonna get he has said I'm gonna come back.
Yeah, this one was guilty of that because remember when they were in the wilderness concerning Moses when he went up to the mountain. We'll see what happened. Time, in other words, in their mind, he was taking too long, more or less. And they said, well, he's done for you, he's gone, okay. And they got Aaron to, you're going to help us build us a God. In other words, call him our God. And then they say, this is the God that says that actually delivered us out of Egypt. And the thing about it is that I guess time or, this is idle hands of the devil's workshop. I'm thinking that they didn't have enough faith or strength or something like resolve. They just kind of let their emotions run with them or their ideas on how we should worship. Or, God even says you don't need to make anything stone, sticks. I won't have that. You're kind of like more or less bringing him down to a level that's smaller than what he really is. Yeah. I mean, this is the body of really.
Right. Good point.
The elves in Spain, somewhere, maybe not Spain, but a Latin country, they still come out, and they're not the little cute little happy elves, they're demons. And they used to come and kill the children that were bad. And they still kidnap children and stuff like that. this is today. This isn't centuries ago. They still come out and fearful, you know.
Yeah.
And in those songs, you know, he's watching and all. That's for that they actually still come out. So you can only imagine what God is seeing. You know, Sarah said the other day, I've never believed in Santa Claus. And I'm like, aren't you blessed? You know? You know, because she's like, I've never believed in Santa Claus. And I actually got a call from her teacher in kindergarten. She made this little boy cry because she told him there's no such thing as Santa Claus. And the teacher was upset that. And we had to fight. We fought teachers who would say, but it's okay if they go sing. We're just singing around the Christmas tree. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. And we had to kind of get huffy and puffy with the teacher. She didn't want to let us take Sarah out of school. The next year, she let us take Marty. But that year, she did not want us to take Sarah out of class.
Right. And to be fair, for that teacher, we grow up from day one with this. And it's hard to make a distinction like that's wrong. What do you mean that's wrong? We just, ain't nobody getting killed. So in fairness, because there's somebody maybe listening when they watch this online or something, or I don't know here, and they're like, I don't really get it. Here's what I said when I first presented to me, is that's not what it means to me. That's not what it means to me. I ain't trying to worship no other God, and that's where it gets challenging, because that doesn't matter. That it doesn't mean that to you. Like you said, what is he seeing? When he looks down, he's like, that looks just like what y'all did. You got the evergreen tree. You got the, what is this, you know? And I'm more conscious of him. So let's make sure we think about, if you're having conversations with friends, you're thinking about, how does my father see it? I'm concerned about how he sees it. I had a conversation with a girl at school, a teacher, and I said the same thing too. I says, she's like, I said, what would your dad think? Because you think about what everybody else thinks. But what would your dad think? What would your father in heaven think? And it changes everything. I'm going to get through these quick. Easter's the same way. While many other pagan customs associated with celebration of Easter were one stage practiced alongside Christian Easter traditions. I don't have to go through that in this context so much, so I'm not. But I do want to tell you how powerful it is, guys, when you live in a nation that practices something. See, we can look at this pulling out your beard and cutting and like, wow, this can't. They will look at us and be like, what's up with a bunny? I don't get how that's a struggle. Why are you struggling? Like, we're in a different culture, but we need to identify this is not easy. This is not easy for you and I and the people who live here. There are some traditions that we've gotten used to. All Hallows Eve. It was supposed to be a day where you're acknowledging passed away saints. We create stuff. It was supposed to be a day where you're, and as the Catholic Church really got into that, let's do an honor all the saints day. And the day before it was supposed to be a really bad day. Anyhow, I'm not going to get into it. But the point is, this was created. And everybody around the world had a day where they would celebrate saints, and we all want to come together and make it kind of homogeneous and whatever. But the point is, there's power in these little practices. That's why he says, don't do it that way. When you go into a nation, don't be going and doing it that way. How did they know what the nations were doing? You have the big nation by yourself. How do you know? Well, they can go out and go search and whatever, see what they're doing. It was a little bit tougher. You remember, was it Dina, this girl who went out? What's her name? She went out and this guy took her and wanted to marry her.
Yahweh's daughter.
It was it said that she wanted to go see what the other women were doing. Now here's my caution to you. Please listen to this. Is you no longer have to go out to see what the nations are doing. They're coming into your house. If you think that we're looking on the outside and you got a good hold on this because you don't do Christmas, Easter, and Halloween, you're like, man, I don't do none of that. Like, they got you. We need to wake up to the point. It's so subtle that it's coming through your TVs, your radio, and your cell phone every single day. When you're on Facebook, social medias, Instagram, all the little subtleties. Look at how they dress. Look how they talk. Look at what they think is cute. Look what all those little practices. It starts to get into you. You start getting, oh, okay, that's what's cool. That's what's in. It's not a big deal. Distinctions are lost, and now you end up joining with the nations. Okay, that's what I want to get to. Please evaluate what some traditions always start out well-intentioned. Okay, but they end up going somewhere. and they start looking like just what the nations have been doing for a long time. Help me out on this. Was a place of worship important to Yahweh?
Yes.
Now, I really don't have a lot to say on this. You're going to have to help me on this because I'm a student too. I actually enjoy teaching because I'm learning from y'all. That's why I ask a lot of questions. I'm like, I really don't know. Can you tell me what you think? Was a place of worship important to Yahweh? I heard yes. Here's some scriptures that are in this Torah portion. You're going to see this a lot throughout the Torah. But just in this Torah portion, here's some of them. But you shall seek the place that Yahweh your God will choose. There you shall go, and there you shall eat. Like, he's like, go right here. And I put for those who are looking for it, I put a little map so you'll know where it is. So right there, I want you to be right there. Now, to Yahweh, this is not a man making this up. That sounds like almost a man-made thing. Like, you got to do it right here. You can't go. Like, Yahweh's like, to the place I'm telling you, go right there. Everyone doing what's right in his own eyes. He says later on, then to the place that Yahweh your God will choose, is I'm going to tell you, I'm going to choose it to make his name dwell there. There you shall bring all that I command you. Your burnt offerings go right there, right there. No, nowhere else. Matter of fact, in our study, he says, don't eat this out there. You can eat that, but don't eat that. Like, what's the big deal? However, you may slaughter and eat your meat within any of your towns. The place is important. Okay. You may not eat within your own towns the tithe of your grain, but you shall eat them before Yahweh your God in the place of Yahweh God will choose. If the place that Yahweh God will choose to put his name is too far from you, he goes on about that. He said, I'm telling you where to go. Now, going back to who Yahweh is, this is not a big deal to me. I'm like, what's the big deal? Okay, now I'm going to move into today, but was the place important to Yahweh then?
Yes.
Why? Why in the world was it such a big... Because if I'm in this place, I don't know if I have some different feelings, but right now I'm like, what's the big deal? If I go over there and do it, if I go over here and do it.
Because the nations did it. They went up under every tree, every native tree, and every any high place. That's the way the pagans did it.
Okay.
Because you're not to go a horn under every tree or every high place. You're not supposed to even build your own high places. What did the woman at the well say to? What did she say to Yeshua?
My fathers worship you on the mountain somewhere?
No, you're talking about John 4, but she's talking about the woman at the
Samaritan woman at the well.
Yeah, our Father said we worship here, and Jews all say you have to go to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And what does Jesus say? They're right.
Yeah, those who worship the Father must worship
But
the
the day is
Son.
Yes. It is coming.
Okay. So that kind of helps me answer this. So this idea,
No, that's not.
okay.
How about the fact that the church that he was, the church was
It's a temple.
with the slide for baptism, you have to think of it that way as well. It's probably not a church that we would want to go attend, you know what I mean? There's churches, the naked
Church.
Man, what y'all been watching?
It's not, what I mean, it's all
I ain't
only
never heard
Jesus.
this.
It says it's only
Yeah.
about Jesus.
I've seen that.
They don't go there naked, but it's all about just Jesus. In other
Well,
words,
the naked gospel.
naked gospel.
And then they
So-
misinterpret it.
They only talk about, they only do the New Testament, they only do.
I got you. Yeah, I heard that.
There's also, so that's what we have to remember as well.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, at Margie and my mom, they always said, don't let just anybody lay hands on you.
No.
Don't let, and I was reminded about that this weekend, this week when I was listening to this thing, and this lady calls in and she says, I'm a holistic healer. Can you please give me your son's name? And that man did not want to give her his. He's like, but it was common knowledge on the show that he knew. I mean, everybody knew his name. Her name is Drew. His name is Drew, but he was like, Drew. So he knew. Okay, this isn't a good thing, but he didn't want to offend at the same time.
Yeah.
But But we gotta think about that. Where are you worshiping? Are you worshiping where they have the right beliefs, not only the exact place? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah, right now I'm talking about, for them, he was very specific about them showing a specific location. They had a latitude and longitude or something.
Okay.
Like, this is where I want you.
No, I was asking a question.
Oh, you were asking?
Yeah, I said, you know, we have that thing, or are you talking about if it's, and you answered the
Okay,
place?
okay.
I sometimes think of it this way, is that when you're in a specific place, there's things like wheels and stuff like that, and watches, if you don't put it in the right place, things won't happen. So for me, he has specific places because that's where he designed it and that's where everything happens. I mean, that's where the glory is and everything else. If you do it over here, he's not there. So why are you, to me that's what I get when he says, I want it here. Not, and I don't question it because he has a reason why he wants it right there and not here. There might be a big hole in over here, so here everything's set up. So you don't go to a birthday party in the bar. For children, it's set up right for like kids' place,
Right, right. You know what you're talking about, right?
He is a God of order. And even when you told Moshe about giving the law, to me it's almost so dishonest because you did it twice for Moses, but yet he said, do it this way. And I feel like he's telling us just how he is. You know how father, when people are married, they say, wait till your father gets home. Well, I'm gonna tell your father because the father is the head of the house, and he's gonna be the one that. Well, Yahweh is our father, and we have to obey and listen to him as he says, do it. And I think these things that are here to tell us, this generation is that generation, and the generations go on, that he means what he says and he says what he means.
Amen. Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Now, where is there an altar that is properly sanctified unto Yahweh?
Where is there an altar?
Yeah. How many of them are there?
Bethel?
Sure.
You can go. You need to. Okay.
You want to stay here, this one? There's only one place in Leviticus the altar was made, and it was sanctified for 8 days. Remember that? This is the only altar that you can offer sacrifices on unto Yahweh, your God. Now, after they got to the land, and they were dispersed, some people might say, well, it's too far to go, we'll just do it here. No, you don't have the altar, and you don't have the permission to do it. And this is the clincher. In what only place, what only city, and only country in the whole world did Yeshua reside?
The center of the earth.
There you go. Now you see? Is that coming? Does that bring a light on everybody's?
Everybody on the right
Yes,
of Israel.
yes. Now, will there be an altar set up again
No,
in the
not the
future?
olives, he prayed to his father.
Yes. Now, right now, can we offer
Thank you.
thanks, and praise unto Him anywhere? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was the next question. Is a
Oh,
place?
okay, I'm sorry.
No. Is a place of worship still important to Yahweh?
Absolutely. And what altar are you going to do it on today? Where are you going to put your offer of sacrifice and praise? Right here. In your tabernacle or the altar of your heart.
That's why you're.
And He has sanctified it with His blood.
Yes, he
That's
has.
what makes it holy.
But Paul talks about pouring his life as a drink offering.
So if you are to worship him in what?
Spirit and truth. Yes.
Spirit and truth.
So
that as long as that's where you're doing it, that's what you're doing.
yeah, you got the environment right. You got the spirit and truth.
A lot of people think spirit and forget truth.
Yeah.
When we were
My
going to
spirit
church,
was back.
when we were going to church, there was a lot of people leaving the church because they were looking for something. They were searching for something, but they didn't know what to find, what they were searching for. We also left because we were searching for His truth. And not only are you're seeking other believers that are on the same page, you're looking, and then you're seeking, you're following the same path I'm on. So they'll lead us. And that's what we're, we can see it. We can see it as the brothers and sisters. Do we want to climb high trees, or do we want to have enough faith to move mountains? We want to have enough faith to move mountains. So this is, this is what we see in our brothers and sisters. That, your faith is so strong. That's where we want to be. You see so many, they just go enough to get a 30-minute sermon.
Yeah.
That's very important. So the big picture here is, like you said, Miss Ava, is Yahweh didn't want anything to even look like what the pagans were doing. He's like, no, this is exactly what I told you to do. But my heart is good. I gave you a good altar, and now, listen to me, guys, because this is where I know from me. I don't know about you, but I hear it a lot in our generation. But my heart is good. I really want to do this. He said, I don't even want it to look like some. When I was growing up in 18, 19 in church and really getting serious, the church that I was a part of was serious about not a guy and a girl being alone. So if I go into a room by myself, it don't even look good. I only even want to give it a hint that something was going on. He's like, not even the appearance. So he was really concerned with, that's not what I'm talking about. Make sure you're doing it right here, because it don't even look like that. Your heart not even going there. So that's a big deal. Not in that way at all. Not look, well, I'm good. No, it's not about you. I told you, no, we're not going to do that.
So, but what is, you could say the heart. The only heart that we seek to have is Yahweh's heart. Because our heart is wicked and sinful and deceitful and wicked beyond imagination. So, and another things like, we were hearing that, even the appearance of evil is sin. So even if it looks like it's wrong, it's a sin. Because even the appearance of evil is sin. That's the thing I keep in my mind all the time. It's just like, I don't want to do this, but it's okay, Mom, or it's okay. Sister, but I don't know what other people are going to see. It's even the appearance of evil is sin. So,
I was telling this person this week because she thought it was okay, even though she's not married or anything, that it was okay for her to get on a car with her guy friends. And I said, no, that doesn't look like we're to set ourselves apart. I said, we're to set ourselves apart. It doesn't matter if that person goes to church, you go to church, it doesn't look like. I said, it doesn't. I said, you don't want to have that reputation of, you have all these guy friends and this and that. I said, you don't. I said, you want to be, that is what, setting yourself apart for Yahweh. I said, even if it's a ride to church that you're getting with this person, it doesn't look like. I said, don't do it. I said, you say you want to be set apart, then set yourself apart. You do not have to accept that right. I said, you have a way to get there. So you do it, set yourself apart, not just in that, in other things. We have to set ourselves apart, even in, how we worship Him.
That's good. That's a huge. Yeah, I think that's just a huge point, because we can start thinking really crazy thoughts sometimes if we're not in the limelight. Like if you're not somebody who's ministering to people on a daily or consistent basis, it's easy to start making justifications for a lot of things. Like, look, you can't, like, I can't be up here teaching and be in my school preaching, and then I'm like, how you go? But if you're kind of like, I got my own little life going on here, my personal relationship with Jesus, and we just kind of do, like, and I heard one minister say, well, he says, believers don't have a private life. You don't got a private life. Everything is on display. Because people are looking at you asking themselves, if I become like you, will I be upgrading or downgrading?
That's true.
Like they do. They look at how you look. They look at how you talk. And they get your Bible, but they're looking at you. They say, did it work for you? Whenever I go to the dentist, I'm looking at his teeth. Like, did it work for you?
Yeah.
Aren't you? You're like, did it work? Like if you got a trainer, physical trainer, you're like, hold on now, come on, you training me. You looking at him.
Hairstylist.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like whatever you claim that you do,
Like, you don't even comb your hair.
and that makes a difference. So whatever you claim that you do, people hear your doctrine thing, they're like, that's cool, but I'm looking at you. So if you are an ambassador and have that mindset of an ambassador, like I'm representing the whole kingdom here with you right now. You can't do certain things. Well, it's what's wrong with and that, like you don't get it. No, you can't do certain things. How much should we? I'm gonna move on to I think it's into the next chapter. How much should one care about obeying Yahweh's instruction?
Can I answer that real quick? I've been studying for that message tomorrow. So, 1 John 2:3-6. The way we can be sure we are obeying His instruction or His commands. Anyone who says, "I know Him," but isn't obeying His commandments is a liar. The truth is not in him.
That's right.
But if someone keeps doing what he says, then truly loves for the love for Yahweh has been brought to its goal and manifested in him. This is how we are sure that we are united with him. A person who claims to be continually in union with him ought to conduct his life the way he will. And then there's another one said, John 3:4. Here is how one can distinguish clearly between Yahweh's children and those of the adversary. Everyone who does not continue doing what is right is not from Yahweh. And then 3:24. Those who obey His commandments remain united with Him, and He will be. Here's how we know that He remains united with us by the Spirit whom He gave us.
It's real simple. Just do it. Now I'm going to add. No, I'm not going to add. But I think what you're going to see in the scriptures, it takes it even further. If you could, because she talked about scripture that says just do it. Pretty much. Just are you going to do? If you really believe, just are you doing it? Show me that. How should we care? It says you should be careful to do all the statutes. These are the statutes and rules that you should be careful to do. This starting to sound like mom. You know, mom, whenever we go out, honey, be careful.
Yeah.
Take care that you do not offer your burnt sacrifice. Take care. Why you just don't say do it or don't do it? He said, no, be careful. Be careful to obey all the words that I command you. Be careful. Just in this Torah portion alone, look how many times it says take care. Be careful. Why you just don't say, do it? Be careful. Everything that I command you, you shall be careful to do. If only you will strictly obey the voice. So you was talking about obeying. He said, be very careful. Take care, lest there be an unworthy thought in your heart. Take care. You shall remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and you shall be careful to observe these statutes.
I was saved at a really young age, but I never could stay on the right path. Never could.
Is that R? That's R.
Hold on.
I would continue, and I would fall into old habits. I would fall into bad company. I would continue, and it was funny because I didn't go to parties because my mom didn't let me. I didn't do this stuff. I was at church Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and twice on Sundays, and that was on a good week when they didn't have the extra Bibles and all that other stuff. So that was our life, but I couldn't stay. I could not stay. And I told my mom, but I'm not like you. I can't get it like you. It doesn't stick like you. Until we came this last time, and I had hit rock bottom in one way, but also my body was being destroyed in another, from illness. So I had no choice but to give it all. And my mom would always say, read the Bible, read the Bible. So until I got where me and Cindy almost immersed ourselves into just the Word of God, constantly, I didn't get it. I didn't know how to worship. I didn't know that faith meant knowing Him, knowing His Word, knowing, I didn't know all this stuff. So it is important to know that the way we worship Him is not only doing what somebody else told you, but learning personally his voice
Yes.
and what he's saying. You know, that we talk about 30-minute, sermons, but until you actually know his voice, know his tone, know his desires, just like you would your husband or you cannot worship him fully. I used to tell my mom she'd go to church with me. Be like, nope. And I would fight it because I knew the second I walked in that, I could feel the spirit calling me. Other things I did wrong for years. I used to hate when I was doing bad things, drinking and stuff. I would hate when my mom's phone would ring because I knew she was going to take that away from me, because I knew as soon as I would ignore her. I mean, she would hunt me down because I would ignore her phone calls because I knew that she was praying that moment. 3 o'clock in the morning, she was praying. And I knew the second, and sometimes I knew before she even called because I'd be like, this isn't working, and thank God it wasn't. But I have to say that unless you know him, his voice, and by that is the word of his word, you don't have true worship.
And I think to jump into what you're saying on this topic, like it's challenging because he doesn't say obey me. He says be very careful that you do. Like you talk about immersion. Like okay, we're not used to having this all 120%. I'm into this kind of like we try this. I try this. I try this. I try this. We'll see how it works. Like he's saying, you be very careful. That means if you come across an opportunity where you can say, which way do I go? This way or that one? Be careful. Oh, okay, that's easy. I'm gonna go this way. Like if you ask yourself, because we get a lot of questions like that in our life, right? Where you're like, the command is to do this, but what do you do in this situation? This 2018, does he really mean this way or that one? Well, which way would be careful? Oh, I know that. This way would be a careful way. This way would be a careless way, or maybe okay way. He says, I want you to be very careful how you go about this. In the Hebrew, say that word for me. Shamar.
It means to guard.
Yeah. So here you go.
Actually, guard.
The best. 168.
Okay, so here's how it's translated in the Authorized Version. 230 times is keep, observe, heed, keeper, be, so you see it. Now, what you know already from Hebrew is that in the Hebrew language, everything has a concrete type of feel to it, not the abstract. You literally can see, touch, feel, or somehow engage with it. So if you're thinking about be careful with something, it's like you got to actually kind of see it like this guarding or this keeping. And the picture that I can think of is like, he's just like, I'm just going to. Ain't that beautiful? Like, I'm going to, there's a scripture in John 8:31. It says, if you hold to my teachings and you obey my teachings, you're really my disciple. Like, I'm not going to let this go. Yeah.
Can I add something? Now, I'm not looking at dictionaries or anything, this is what I do. Anybody can keep anything. I can take a turtle and stick it in my aquarium and not pay any attention to it all. And little lettuce or something like that. I'm keeping it. However, shamar, guard. I'm guarding it like keeping with my life. This is my life. If I don't guard these commandments, if I don't guard my way, the way that Yahweh taught me, I am in danger. And so is everybody around me. And those that hear me, they're in danger. I'm in danger of them because I'm not guarding the word that he gave me, the life that he gave me from this word. Guarding is so much greater than keeping. Keeping is, anybody can keep anything. But are they really taking care of it? Are they being careful, like you said? No, guarding, to me that's why the word, the translation guard is a better translation. It's a better way to say it because you're guarding. I'm guarding it with my life because it is my life.
I'm definitely not gonna fight you over that. No, I love it. Guard, because you get like I get what your point. Like you're like guarding. You're like 24/7. Like I'm gonna make sure this thing, not just that I have it on the side. I love it.
Yeah, in that picture, it looks like he's embracing or pleading too.
Yeah, so, and that's what I love about, again, the Hebrew. It's more picturesque. It's more like, let me see it. I don't know what the right word is. guard sounds like it's a better fit, but you get the idea. It's not like you something you just got and I'll come back to it every now and then. I'm gonna watch this thing.
I was just gonna say that number reminded me of how many seconds in a day. 860. Of course, I'm reading right to left. 864,000 seconds in a day.
Wow.
So that's how many often you should.
Seconds. Yeah.
That's
every
good.
every second you have to guard it.
That's good. But that level of life, guys, that you're constantly thinking, I'm gonna be careful. I'm gonna make sure. I remember Yahshua. He says, somebody said, "Is many people going to be saved?" He says, "Make every effort." Make every. He didn't answer the guy's question direct. He said, "You make every effort." I made some effort. I made a good effort. I kind of no. Make every effort you can. You got a lot of it. I thought you were going to say something. This 13. This is just a summary of 13. I kind of put this chart together because I saw a pattern happening. Here's the verses. Here is who they're talking about and what they did, what you should not do, and what you should do in return. So you talk about how jealous Yahweh is. If a prophet or a dreamer talks about following other gods, don't listen to him, put him to death. Your brother, son, daughter, wife, friend talk about other gods, don't listen to him, don't pity him, don't spare him, don't conceal him, put him to death. I feel bad sometimes. I'm like, why I gotta read this? I'm like, this is about your Bible. If you hear in one of your cities someone talking about, let's go, serve other gods, make a search, find out what's true or not, and then bring out your sword. Gather all this spoil into the midst, open the square, burn the city, and all this spoil with fire. When I see this kind of stuff, I see big picture a lot, and I'm like, what am I getting from this picture here about who Yahweh is and what is important to him? He does not play around with any another God. Oh, that's easy. Dead. Who said that? That's dead. Oh, your wife that you're embracing love? No, have no pity, your best friend? He said, don't make no distinction. I know that couldn't have been my words, or I'm like, that's wow. He said, I don't play with these other gods. Put him to death. Comments.
Who's sending these dreamers and prophets? Who is sending them to the people? And why is it not happening in the wilderness, but it is happening in the land?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah,
But he's getting permission to by who? Okay.
To test them and to
To
see,
test
to
them.
test them and to see if they were true.
Right. And he said that. I remember that.
That's
He
right.
actually said that too. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna send them. I'm gonna see what's going on with your heart. And it's funny. Now that you see this, you'll think about a number of times they didn't put people to death. You're like, hey, that guy. People are being stoned and put out to death. But that's just a summary, real quick. 13. I'm skipping 14. 14 talks about the food and things like this. I will say this on 14. I didn't know that. Let's talk about the pig. I didn't know pig was in so much. I just want to say that for those who don't know. Like when you find stuff with like glycerin, I didn't know. See what they do? They take like the hoof of the pig and they boil it, and it makes this jelly feeling. So most things that have this jelly kind of flex, like gummy worms and bears and marshmallows. Anytime you see this like glycerin, there's another word that starts with a G. Yeah, the capsule, gelatin. That's the other one. Yeah. So when you start seeing gelatin, most of the time it's the pig. Like everywhere you go, it's pig. I'm like, what? You try to wash your hands with soap?
I got upset with Kit Kat. They put
Some chips. A lot of the chips that we give our kids.
Yeah. I just want to make sure it's on record for those who I didn't know that for a long time. Your skin absorbs what you put on it, by the way. That's why some prescriptions are topical. So when you're thinking about washing your hands, it has pig in it. Or you're like, do I really want to do that? So just be mindful, do a Google search. I didn't make a presentation about it, but it's in a lot of places.
So is that why maybe he said they'll even touch their carcass?
Mm-hmm.
He knew it was coming up.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
I don't know. While the year release, I want to finish with this idea on the year of release. Sounds so liberating. At the end of the 7 years, you shall grant a release. I love this. Can we bring that back?
Yeah.
And this is the manner of the release. I love how he gives you details. Like, let me tell you, well, this is not just a random release. I'm going to tell you what it is. Every creditor shall release what he has lent to his neighbor. He shall not exact it of his neighbor, his brother, because Yahweh's release has been proclaimed. So celebrate the release. Would anybody celebrate the release in here?
Oh, yeah.
That's like, even to this day, if we go out and make a bill, and after 7 years, that bill drops off
Well,
your
I
credit.
didn't drop off, you have to call, but.
No, it drops off.
It
No, it
drops
drops
off.
off.
It
Really?
drops off.
Yes.
They're telling me that I have to call
It-
every
No, it
creditor.
drops.
No,
It
it
drops
drops
off.
off after 7 years.
But I've gotta add something because it happened to me. Creditors sell their debt. And those people that are collecting the debt, they can call you for 20 years, but you don't have to pay them.
That's right.
I told them, no, dropped off, I ain't paying it. Oh, but I'm carried, 7 years
Yeah.
it's dropped off, and that's still in
That's right.
Yeah, that's here.
bankruptcy. Isn't that the same thing?
Uh-huh.
After 7 years?
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't remember how many years it's been.
Yeah.
But
7 years.
what a cool idea. Now, this is a celebratory moment for those of us who have debt. But what if you were a creditor? You're like, I loaned you $2,000.
But you're taking a chance, that's a chance you're taking.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But you see the celebration in the room because most of us like, hey, I got debt. I would love to be free. But hold on, people owe me. What are you talking about?
My mom taught me never to loan money if you expect it back.
Especially family and
I
friends.
definitely follow that principle actually.
I
Now.
do
I never give. Actually, most time I just keep it because it gets too complicated. So if I can't give it away, I don't borrow.
Yeah, well, even the word of God tells us that. Don't loan it if you expect
Help a brother.
to get it back. So, if
And don't charge interest.
yeah, if you're doing it from your heart, then you're not looking for it to come back anyway. Not the way that not from the person that you gave it to, because you have to look at it more on the line of sowing a seed into that person or into a situation. So if I'm sowing a seed, I'll get a return.
Yeah.
Maybe not from this person, but somewhere down the line, somebody will bless me.
Yeah.
I'll receive a
Right.
blessing. But
And another way to look at it too is we're going to talk about, probably the next couple of slides. It says, do it because I already did it. Not just because you may get something. I did it for you.
Exactly.
I released you. So why do you think Yahweh did this? Why did he come up with a year of release? A year of release.
He had to because people didn't have that prior to. They would keep you.
Keep you.
I think it's the releases there that elevates people who are poverty more than.
Right. You start to see that it was important for Yahweh not to be sure that you didn't maintain a state of poverty among your family, among your brothers. Because to be in a state of borrowing is slavery. That's how the Bible calls it. You're in slavery. So if you're a creditor, he says, I'm going to make you a creditor. You're going to lend to people. This is like his blessing. You're going to be one who's lending. So that's a person of power in a great position. But the person who's borrowing, he says, I don't want you in this relationship. But there will be no poor among you. And look at this. He says you can do that. He was talking about for the family here, not so much for the other nations. If among you one of your brothers should become poor, if any of your towns, this is what you're talking about giving. That Yahweh your God is giving you, you shall not harden your heart or shut your hands against your poor brother. But you shall open your hand to him and lend to him sufficient for his needs, whatever it may be. That's a tough one.
Yeah, whatever it may be.
It does say lend. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Right. So you can lend. The lending is not a sin. He's like, you can lend. There's a way to do it that you don't oppress people. We talked about the interest and whatnot.
The way I see it,
Thank you.
because, we're not rich, most of us, and we're gonna need it next month. Maybe by then, I might need it next month, But the way I see it is this: if you lend it and it comes back to you, praise Yahweh. But if it doesn't, consider it a gift.
Praise Yahweh.
Yeah.
Praise
This
Yahweh.
happened. I just experienced something similar to this. My brother was in and Sufficient for his need. Look at that. Sufficient for his need. That's different in every situation, isn't it?
Not what he wants.
So I like, here's a dime, here's $1, but what can I give that will help be sufficient for your needs? So this is what Yahweh's mindset is to take care of his brothers and sisters. Y'all should be taking care of each other. It's his idea. If your brother, Hebrew man or woman, is sold to you, he shall serve 6 years, and the 7th year shall let him go free. Why? Why the command let him go after 7 years? Again, we got this idea of you don't want this perpetual slavery amongst everyone.
But 7 is the number of completion.
Ready?
Yes.
You ready? You ready here?
I don't know.
Where is man made from?
Dirt.
We made of the dirt. The earth is getting a 7th-year release. Why not man? Why not man first and then the earth?
You know, it's funny. I thought you just going to say this, but did you know that all your cells are replenished every 7 years?
That's what I read. That's right.
I forgot about that.
Even-
Like all your cells, all your whole.
Even your nervous cells. I heard they were.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard
But-
they used to say they can't repair themselves, and now they say they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 15. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Why did the command let them go? You were a slave, and I let you go. You shall remember you were a slave, and Yahweh your God redeemed you. Therefore, I command you this day. All right, I'm going to go to the summary. Before I go to the summary, I want to make a quick point. Back then, when you worked it was uncommon for you to work for somebody for more than 7 years. Like, for you to be like, I'm still working for this guy for 10 years.
Oh, it used to be you couldn't borrow a home for more than 7 years. The banks wouldn't let you do it. Back in the 30s and 40s.
Wow.
I don't remember that.
But back then, to give you the idea of culture, Old Testament, first century, you wouldn't work for a person longer than that. It was uncommon for someone to be like, hey, I'm working for you for 10 years. Matter of fact, that's where you got the all in the ear, the door thing. If you want to be with them that long, okay, let's put the all, you've been forever. Now, I'm saying that because, just to stretch our minds here, you wouldn't work for a man, woman, for that long. You wouldn't work for, let me push it to closer to where we are. You wouldn't work for a company for 7 years plus. That would be strange. You're like, you're still working for this same person? Because that's like slavery. What people would do, they would be day hires or, have their trades, a fisherman, a carpenter, they have their skill sets and they'll hire themselves out for that skill. But to be with a company for a long period of time was unusual. So I say this to us. I would encourage and challenge us to think about having a similar model where we're not we're sending kids to school and we're teaching them to be working for a company for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, hoping that at the end of that they'll take care of us by providing some kind of retirement or gold watch and whatnot. This is the model now. This was weird. Like, you're going to be with them. Think about the slavery. Okay? I'm not saying it in a very, very negative way, but how all the best of your time and talents is being used to build another company. When you want to produce lessons or go reach out and share, when you want to be like, I don't want to wear your outfit with your logo on it. You can't do it. No, you got to wear that. I want to share my faith with you. You can't do that here. So for most of my life, most of my good years, I'm working to build your empire. I want to take a vacation because I want to go. No, you can't. What you mean I can't? What is it, slavery? We don't call it that. And I'm not trying to call it slavery per se. But when your choices and options get limited that way, we're not looking at the model that we had way back when you can just say, no, I'm an entrepreneur. I'll work for you a little while, but I'm still working on something I want to do so I can be available for my God to serve his kingdom. Because I'm building your kingdom up. I do your thing, you pay me, and I'm going through that. So I want to put that idea out there.
You work for companies and you invent something, or you get a patent for something,
It's there.
who owns that? China.
So many of us, I'm going to say this and I'm going to close this off, but many of us every one of us in here are full of so much talent and creativity. God has put it in you. But we gotten so busy with our jobs that we can't do the work that he put for us here.
Making money.
I'm going to say that one more time. We gotten so busy with our jobs then we cannot do the real work that he put for us to do here. Please be sure that you don't work all your energy out and all your time out building some man's company, that you don't build his kingdom. Some of us get so creative for a company. We sacrifice, get up early for that company. But we give so little to building up. He says, I put you here for the benefit of the whole, not to. So it's not okay. It's okay to work and do your job. But don't have that trade-off where you're neglecting what he wants you to do.
You know,
All right,
that's so Brandon, because it could be, some people, you're right on, and then some people become, I'm a victim, I can't advance. I'm a victim, I can't advance. But it's so true that we're so blessed with so much. Man, you have an opportunity to go to school, to college, to do so much, and then you limit yourself.
In this country, it's hard to say that you got so many options. You know what I'm saying? You can do stuff online. I got a friend of mine who has 2 master's degrees, and he's a quadriplegic. He's in a wheelchair with a chin cup like this. He's moving. He got 2 master's degrees. He's been there in this trail since he was 10. But he made sure now he's working on buying an apartment complex. I'm like, what are you doing, man? You're embarrassing us. But today, in 2018, you don't have to be subject to anybody and have to ask for. I get passionate about that because you have to ask somebody to go to the restroom. You got to ask somebody to take a bath. And it's so common now, nobody asks about it. But we cannot have time to do his work anymore. We work, and then we have a few years of retirement and we die. Like, where is the work that you built for him?
Right.
Yeah, you can't serve God in that.
Yeah, the work is last.
That's a good
Jewel, the crown.
So work, do your job, but don't forget to work.
Yes.
Don't forget your work that while you're really here.
While it's still day.
And just a summary. Here's what we talked about. Is it important how we worship? Absolutely. We talked about that. Was a place of worship important? Yahweh? Yes, still important. Truth and spirit, I think we talked about. How much should one care? A lot. Very carefully watch what we're doing. We talked about he's jealous, he's serious about no other gods, and lastly, why the year of release? He don't want nobody in slavery to no other man. In poverty, we want slavery. He wants you free. Not then, not I'm gonna die one day and be free. He wants you free right now. Now listen to me, please, guys, because I think in our culture we have a model that says this is how you do it. That model doesn't promote freedom. It promotes I gotta do this, and so please pray about and pursue that type of freedom. All right, I'm gonna close here, and that's all I have. Thank you so much. I'm gonna pray, and Mr. Bruce, would you give us the blessing afterwards? I'm gonna pray and then you can give us the blessing. Father Yahweh, we praise you and thank you so much for your word. Thank you for the souls and the spirits that are listening. To he who has an ear, let him hear. Let him put it into practice. Let us do what you want us to do. Let us be careful, Father, to bring you the glory that you deserve, because you already set us free. So let us walk in that freedom and that confidence. That let us leave this place, not just with good feelings and emotions, but with a plan, with a determination, with a decision to say, this has to stop. I'm so excited for what you're trying to do. I'm so sobered by how merciful you've been with us. Yahweh, let your blessing fill this room. In Yahshua's name we pray, amen. Another blessing.
Yahweh said to Moshe, speak to Aaron, his son. Tell them, this is how you are to bless the people of Israel. And this is what you are to say unto them. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face shine upon you and show you his favor. And may Yahweh lift up his face toward you and give you shalom. In his name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, guys. Praise Yahweh.